Family finds a stray inside their home before they realize the grim reality. Everyone knows about the things that go bump in the night, but what happens when those sounds wind up being more than just creaky floorboards? Jack Jokinen never thought he had anything to fear in his own home, but all that changed after a stray appeared out of thin air right in the middle of his living room. At first, it all seemed like something out of a dream. That is, until Jack and his family discovered the shocking truth. No one would be thrilled to be jarred awake in the middle of the night, but as Jack's wife roused him from sleep with a look of concern in her eyes, his mind immediately turned to one thing: their 1-month-old daughter. Was she hurt? Had she gotten sick in the night? Fortunately, the baby was fine, though that only conjured up another fear of Jack's, an intruder. But before he could even process this thought, his wife shared her discovery, and it was one that just didn't make sense. She said, "There's a puppy in our house." A puppy? Jack thought he must have heard her wrong. The Jokinens did already have a dog, a 2-year-old pup named George. Maybe she'd groggily mistaken him for another dog? It was, after all, around 4 a.m. But as Jack descended the stairs and entered his living room, he couldn't believe his eyes. It was a puppy, all right. The frightened yellow lab mix cowered in the corner as Jack and his family inched toward her, though it was clear by the look of the dog that she was more than just afraid. The pup's body was thin, her fur was wet, and she couldn't stop shivering. Seeing the dog's poor state, Jack rushed to grab George's kennel and quickly swaddled the puppy inside. As the Jokinen's mystery guest slowly began to relax, there was still one glaring question that needed answering. How did this puppy get inside? There was no sign of a broken window or any other entry point, and both the front and back doors were closed and locked. It was almost as if the dog had appeared out of thin air. Fortunately, Jack knew just how he was going to get to the bottom of this mystery. The Jokinens had a security camera mounted above their front door, which had been rolling throughout the night. As Jack played back the footage, he spotted something that made his blood run cold. After returning from a walk with George just a few hours prior, Jack had apparently failed to completely shut the front door. The doorknob had been locked, but with the door not all the way closed, a gust of wind could have easily pushed it open, and that's exactly what happened. Jack looked on his horror as his front door hung completely open in the dead of night. Jack continued watching, and at a little under an hour before his wife woke him, a small shape entered the frame. Was it the puppy, or could it have been yet another stray? Jack believed it was the latter, as the small creature passed the house without a second thought at first. Just before the shape exited the frame, it stopped. Noticing the open door, the creature decided to turn around and headed straight inside to seek shelter. Jack had gotten his answer, and he was about to shut the footage when he noticed another shape, only this time it was human. Terrified, Jack watched as the stranger climbed the front steps and headed for the open door, only to shut it in place. A wave of relief washed over him, but now everything came full circle. With the door closed, there was no way for the puppy to get back outside. What were they supposed to do with her now? First, the Jokinens knew that the poor pup had to get some rest, so they decided to let her spend the night in George's kennel to recuperate. The next day, they gently eased the dog, who they now called Susie, into the car and headed to the vet. Here, they hoped to find out whatever they could about the strange stray, including whether or not she was microchipped. If she was, maybe her owners were looking for her. But as soon as the vet placed Susie on the table, he dropped a totally unexpected bombshell. Susie wasn't a puppy. In fact, she wasn't even that young either, as the vet put her age between 7 and 9 years old. Her poor health and hygiene made her seem far younger than she really was. Getting Susie the help she needed wasn't going to be an easy task. She was emaciated, teeth all over the place, only walking on 3 legs with no collar, Jack told the dodo. Susie clearly needed some intense TLC, though with a young dog and month-old baby to care for, Jack and his wife didn't know if they were up to the task. But we thought, if we just drop this dog off, who knows what'll happen. Older dogs like Susie don't tend to do very well when given over to shelters. The young, Instagram-worthy pups are usually the favorites to be adopted, and older dogs tend to have a harder time adjusting to new homes. Bringing Susie into the family would definitely require some work, though the Jokinens also considered the ways she could enrich their lives too. Because Susie was an adult dog, she wouldn't require the kind of training that'd make it difficult to also care for George and their daughter. Come to think of it, having a mature, well-behaved pet around the house, in desperate need of love and cuddles, really didn't sound like much of a burden at all. And so, despite the challenges that would come with nursing her back to health, the Jokinens decided that the Philadelphia abode Susie wandered into that fateful night would become her forever home. Shortly after, this magic dog story went viral and led to something incredible. Hundreds of donations from Susie's supporters began pouring in, with the Jokinens raising a whopping $15,000 towards her medical bills. With a loving family and the entire internet behind her, it wasn't long before Susie's health began to improve. The Jokinens were pretty firm in their belief that they had one of the craziest canine stories out there, until they ran into a woman by the name of Leah Barrett at a local dog park. The dog owners got to talking, and Leah ended up confiding in them. "It's true," she admitted. "I never would have believed it if it hadn't happened to me." Don't forget to subscribe for more inspirational stories.